Okay, well, hello everybody. My name's Nick Gowans from Action Coach No Limits. I'm joined by my colleague Karen, who's going to help administer the process today. But most importantly of all, Chris Rose from C Rose Cleaning Limited, who's going to tell us all about his how to get a clear view to growth with strategies for small and medium-sized enterprises from a winning window cleaner. And it's a really interesting story, particularly for those smaller businesses out there, how Chris has automated it ready for growth. I think I should point out that because of the timing around Easter, this is a recorded version. We normally do them live, but this is actually recorded a few days before Easter. And it'll go out on the 2nd of April. So there's no live audience on this particular one. But I think if anybody has any questions for Chris afterwards, I'm sure we can answer those through the community.
Sure.
So, hello Chris, how do you feel about this? You ready to go?
Hi Nick. Yeah, not too bad at all. How are you?
Good, all good, thank you. Looking forward to learning a little bit more about this. So, look, Chris, I always like on these Munch&Learns to learn a little bit about the people involved in them before we get stuck into the business side of it. So, tell us a little bit about yourself. Where were you brought up? How did you end up?
Born and bred in Milton Keynes in 1983. I did the usual, did school, did sixth form. I've told you this story before. Ended up falling in love. Didn't go to uni. Ended up traveling a bit, and then my first job out of school was working for Halifax Bank in mortgage arrears. So that's sort of like where my journey with customer service and how important the empathy of that was around quite a sensitive topic. From there, I left to go to work at Nokia when they were booming. So when phones were getting smaller and everyone wanted one. So I did about 2 years with them. So I learned a little bit more corporate backgrounds, sales techniques, and again, customer service and how important that experience was for people. I ended up working in a business very similar to this with my in-law, who was very old-fashioned in his approach and didn't want to kind of develop how he'd always done it for years, which held me back because I'm quite a creative person and I like to problem solve. And I felt like we just had a stagnated business that wasn't really doing much. So he and I kind of fell out of love a few years later. I moved to Bicester about 2018, and I decided to sort of try and find something else to do with my time. But I'd been out of the game a long while by then, and I realized I kind of had to just repurpose what I knew and what I did but serve me better was kind of the original plan. How do I hit all these things that annoy me so much about an industry that's so dated? And how do I get that message towards customers that have no idea that it could be better? So for me, it was kind of a bit of a journey. It was, how do I take something I don't love, find a way of loving it and nourishing it to be something that could be better than anything I'd done before? And that's kind of where we're at about now, really.
Okay, well, good. And I know you've got some interesting things, and we'll be looking at some of the techniques. But in terms of your sort of the family and support that you've got, Chris, how does that work now? What's behind
Uh,
Zero?
so my wife pops in and out. She does some customer based stuff, but yeah, she's just a great support at home, really. As I'm trying to get to that stage of making the leap, I'm back and forth in my head about when the time is to do it. And it's a wild array of emotions between when to take the risk and when not, and how best that always is. So she's a good ear, and she's very supportive. She's very much you've got this far by going with your instincts against something everyone told you wouldn't be possible. So I don't think you should doubt yourself now, which is quite nice. So at the minute, it's predominantly me. Again, why the basis of everything I do is so important is to maximize my potential in the business, actually just getting the job done, rather than sitting at home and trying to manage all the other stuff that comes with a small business that eats time but doesn't produce any money.
Okay.
So yeah, that's kind of, it's a very small knit of us. And I think that's probably one thing of it than I thought I would before. Yeah, so it's kind of, it's me doing everything, wearing all the hats, and someone at home to moan about the bad days.
Good stuff. Okay, well that's given us some background. So Look, tell us a little bit, and I've got some your slides. Shall I bring those up onto the screen now, Chris? If
Yeah,
you
sure.
like. And I
Yeah,
think there's
go for it.
two parts to this for the benefits of listeners. Is that the first part we're going to find out a bit more about sea rose cleaning, how you go about what you do, what makes you a bit different in terms of the product the customers get. And then we're going to take, in a sense, like lift the bonnet and look under the hood a little bit about how you run the business, because I think that's really interesting for still a small business, but how you've set that up and run it.
Sure.
And so I'm going to bring that up now. It should. Sorry. Here we go. Just let me know when you can see that. Is that up and running?
Yeah, it was fine.
Okay, well, I'll
Yep.
start moving through. So we'll start off with the, tell me when to move on, Chris.
Yeah, sure. I try to keep the bullet points as brief and to the point as possible because it is quite a simple premise of what I do and what I've set up. It's not anything amazing. It's not anything what I've done. I just feel like it's a lot of people hold back on making the business serve them better, so they just don't do it. So I work with an incredible little developer called Next Dynamic, who essentially built a service industry platform for appointments and things. And I've worked alongside them since their beta days in about 2016, 2017 to kind of nudge them in the direction I wanted it to go, and where I thought that actually working with them would be infinitely cheaper for them to deploy stuff that I'd have to go and start from scratch with someone else. So what that comes down to after probably 5 years really of hard work and encouragement is that they've built an incredible piece of software that helps me run my day-to-day business with very, very little manual input. So we have a website that will generate a bespoke quote for around 99% of properties in less than 90 seconds. So from inquiry to conversion, it's less than 2 minutes. When the customer onboards, they're guaranteed appointment reminders for every clean. They get a 24-hour guarantee so that we can clean in all weathers effectively without somebody throwing up a "don't come tomorrow, it's pouring down," etc. We can promise them that we'll sort anything out if needed, which we rarely do. In the background of that, there's actually a self-service portal, so customers that come on board with us can sign up for an online account. They can micromanage their payments, see their invoice history, and so on. Which means we offer a great deal more than industry standard for not a lot extra per month. So we can give people their own tools to do things quite quickly and efficiently amongst their very busy day without it always being a phone call or an email or waiting for someone to get back to them or waiting for somebody to quote them and so on. So what we found is that actually the USP of us is that you can just do everything quite quickly and quite efficiently without really having to think about it again. So part of that is that we offer automated invoicing and payment. So we use GoCardless and Stripe to capture customer information at source at time of interest, so that when the job's done, we can effectively take payment and leave site with it dropping in our account within a few days. So there's no waiting around for cash. There's no waiting around for people to pay you. There's no payment reminders. Nothing. Like our cash flow is what is earned is back in the account within 7 days, which I don't think anybody else I know has got to that level yet, which is awesome. And we just do things better. So the commitment to the standard every time from first clean through to 5 years in is us doing the absolute best for you and communicating that between the reminders, the invoices, and the payment services. You're never kind of unaware of what's going on. And that's just how we've grown so quickly. COVID hit and contactless services were obviously where I was already at. So that year for me kind of blew the doors off of what I thought this could do because I realized I actually built something that people really wanted.
Yeah.
And that's kind of continued to now, really.
Excellent. So shall I have I'll move on to the next slide. So tell us a little bit about your customers.
So I'm finding more and more our niche is cash rich, time poor customers that want a great job for a house they're proud of, but without having to do much to be involved in that and as little points of intervention as possible. So the reminders are there for they can open gates, remove padlocks and stuff the night before. and the payment services are there to collect money, so they haven't got another bill they need to pay later on, or have their evening disrupted by people knocking on the door. So what we've found now is that we are the best reviewed window cleaner in all of Oxfordshire by some margin, through Google, Facebook, and other places that we collect customer feedback. And we're not far off another competitor in Oxford that's been running for 30 years. So that's how good our feedback is. And from that, I've spent little to no money on marketing. So nearly every referral I get is a friend of a friend or a family of a friend that is fed up with their existing provider and just wants something better. We have great retention. So I think because we set the bar so high, leaving us is quite a downgrade. So unless it's moving out of area or monetary problems at home, most people stick with us from day one through to whenever that time comes. So nearly every customer that comes on board lasts at least 3 years without any break in their service. And some of them have been with me, well, a lot of them have been with me since day one of moving here. So 6+ years without any break. And that's just because I go above and beyond to make sure you're happy. Always asking for feedback, always asking for what could be improved, and making sure that every visit is tip-top standard from the cleaning perspective as well.
Very good. Very good. I'll move on. So give us a little bit more detail about the type of services you offer, because it's mainly window cleaning, but you also do roof cleaning and Velux and things like that. So tell us a little bit about those.
So bread and butter is exterior window cleaning because it's our least friction service. It's repeat, it's recurring, it's organised, so the same day falls in every 4 weeks, every 8 weeks, and that brings in probably 85% of the revenue. We also do interior window cleaning on request. That has to be pre-booked. So we'll do both sides of the glass, so to speak. I've got into conservatory kind of valet service. So that's all of the PVC roof trims, whether that's glass, acrylic, roof panels, we can wash them up great. And then a lot of people are building sort of bespoke glass pieces, so like roof lanterns, skylights, lots of light.
We've got a couple of photos to look at as we go through.
And then something that's was tested for a little while and was reintroduced last summer was gutter clearance. So that's something that bolts on quite nicely to window cleaning. Everything, again, nothing's required of the customer. So we have generators and inspection cameras. So everything can be done without you being home, basically, which is what the USP is. We'll come and do something you need without disrupting your day. And then you can bolt that on with a PVC clean. So that'll be a full wash of soffits, fascias, garage doors and stuff like that. So it's not quite up there with some of the exterior cleaning services that people do, but it's enough, especially at the moment, to serve what we need.
Okay. We've now got some examples of the different type of properties that you do. So talk us through this one. I can see that just by the nature of the glass in there, it's going to be a little bit challenging in some ways. So talk us through this one.
Yeah, the great thing about what we do is we're adaptable to serve. It's still a water-fed pole. It's still very safe, but we will use different tools and techniques to service. So this picture I've given you is obviously a great, lovely house, but it's got single plate leaded windows, which most people will come crying at you if you tell them you're going to spray water all over them. So it's done in a similar fashion, but with a lot lower water pressure, with a lot softer finish, because it doesn't need as much friction. But this is not the oldest house. We do some as old as 600 years old. Not using traditional methods that people will tell you need to use for them, with fantastic results and zero problems. So like to make sure that we're using the right brush or the right tool for the job.
Okay. And obviously you can't see the back of it. Roughly how long would that house take for you to do?
The back's quite bigger than it looks in the front, but again, because you're not shifting ladders or scaffolding platforms, it's actually a lot faster than it looks. So probably 2 to 2.5 hours. So yeah. Okay.
Stuff. So next one's obviously a glass conservatory. So a lot of glass on that, and the roof. I can imagine that's a challenge.
And as you can, there's a Velux up to the right here, but there's also one in the middle on the pitch to the left as well, which we can still get. So the reason I put this example up is, again, it would be a labor of love if you were doing it in older traditional methods. For me, it's not. It's a
Yeah.
flock brush, and it's quite quick and effective. So it's just a balance of different age houses, different styles of windows.
Yeah.
This one's another fantastic home that we go to, that's incredibly high on one side, which I didn't send you a picture of, but it's
Right.
nigh on 4 stories, dropped to the floor
Oh,
to
right.
the right
Okay.
of that conservatory. So yeah, it's about investing the right money in the right equipment to do as much as possible, and that the aim is always to do 100% of your house, no matter how awkward. Obviously, there are certain situations where that's just not possible. Architects are just having a whale of a time with building stuff in now that you just can't even see from the ground.
Yeah.
But the commitment is there to if there's a way, a method, or a piece of equipment I can do it with, I will buy it and do it.
Okay. Okay. So this looks like a more modern
Yeah, it's a little
premises.
montage of other bits. So this is actually two separate houses, but again, it's high lofted windows. Interior on that one's obviously quite tricky without ladders as well.
Yeah.
But I have effective cleaning stuff that will replicate the outside without the constant flow of water. And I'm finding now actually that what was always the hardest part of this being set up as it was taking on commercial work,
Right.
because they just didn't want to hand over bank details, and they didn't want to give you card details. It was very much you can do this for us and we'll do it on our terms. And that was something that I was never prepared to accept.
Yeah.
I didn't want to wait 30 days. I didn't want to wait for you to get round to paying me. And actually the last year or so, things like Hayford Smiles there, which are a fantastic little business where I live,
Mhm.
have their windows cleaned every single Monday morning, inside and out, and they're set up on the same automated system as residential customers.
Right.
And that's the case now for a dozen or so other businesses that just want a great service, and they don't want to rock the boat, and not do what I want to keep me, which is great. And that status of where the reputation's becoming for it now.
Yeah. So that's sort of overcoming the objections that some people might say you've got to
Yeah,
fit into our.
absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, that's good to hear. And do you think commercial will be a fast growing side of your business now that you've sort of got into? Or
It Yeah, yes and no. I don't bank on it. I think my experience with commercial work is it's very much a price driven experience most of the time. It's very competitive by nature. I think the higher value jobs are great when you get them on, but they're quite quick to leave. And when they do leave, they leave quite a big dent.
Yeah.
So my main focus is still residential. It's still delivering a great service to people that will hopefully stay in their house for 5 to 10 years and not
Keep.
use anybody else. But the commercial stuff is a great addition when it comes on.
Okay. And some more, the roof lights, that's something coming increasingly common in glass, in as you were saying earlier. And
Yeah, and just
it might not have
people
been.
experimenting a bit more than just like windows and a door.
Yeah.
Sort of like vaulted glass. That the obviously the left one is just the roof lantern over an extension, but again, it allows a lot more light into quite a big space underneath. The middle property, that's actually the entire front of their house is exposed to glass with just a very small mezzanine floor where you can see
Right.
the grey panels. So they're wanting great amounts of light to come in. And traditionally, this would be quite awkward in terms of ladder placement and things.
Yeah.
Whereas with water-fed poles, obviously the reach that we can do is about 50 feet. So everything can be cleaned properly, effectively, economically friendly, and environmentally friendly. And it creates a great experience because people can be crazy with ideas and it not be held back by maintenance.
Yeah.
The same as the one on the right, they've decided to sort of buff it in their front door with this massive piece of 3 pieces of glass and then the glass roof over it, and they naturally want that to look great when they get home.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's cool. It's cool. It makes my job a little bit more interesting.
I can see, I mean, how clean that roof light is. Just looking at the debris around it, I can imagine that would get pretty dirty pretty quickly.
Yeah, yeah. And it would make a big impact to that light in that space if it's
I
covered in the same
suppose,
pine needles and stuff.
yeah, all those pine trees were probably not a consideration for the architect when he was.
Perhaps not, no, but it pays me money, so that's good.
Yeah. Okay, there's some of that's talk through this. Is this your main?
This is the gutter vac. So this was last
Yeah.
year's investment. So it's quite a lot of money to have this set up, but it means that you can actually see what you're doing, which a lot of people that buy vacuums are just kind of guessing.
Yeah.
So that's got a remote feed camera on the tip of it.
Okay.
So you can see what you're doing at all times, and that feeds back to a monitor on the bottom of the pole there. And that's a Skyback Atom Sonic, which is super high powerful
Yeah.
dual wet dry vacuum. So that pulls everything out of the gutters, and you can see it all in real time. So this is something that was bolted on last year, and the inquiries at the moment are crazy for this. So it's brilliant because I can provide feedback in real time to customers about what might need doing maintenance wise.
Yeah.
This one actually had a leak in the roof above this, and I was able to assess it and send them a video of it so they
Okay.
could talk to a roofer.
Interesting. Interesting. And how high can that go? Obviously, that's going a full two stories.
Uh, yeah, about 4. Again, I get a little
Oh
bit
wow. And
unwieldy at that height.
yeah, I can imagine that. So you need to get
Um,
the
but
strength
again,
up.
it's a much lower cost solution to something that would require either dangerous access for ladders or scaffolding towers. So
Yeah.
it's brilliant.
Or hiring a cherry picker or something, which would
Yeah,
cost on the
yeah,
lake. Yeah. Okay.
yeah,
No,
absolutely.
that's good to know. No, that's impressive. Okay, so look, I think that's given people a flavour of what you do, the houses you work on, the situations you work on. I think the gutter is really cleaning is really interesting,
Mhm.
as well as the different window cleaning services. But tell us a little bit about how the actual system works again, because I think the message here for other small businesses is that you don't have to have an IT department to automate your business or whatever. You can do
Yeah,
a lot of this. Yeah, sure, you had to work with Next Dynamics, was it the company that you
yeah,
worked with to
that's it.
develop
Yeah,
software? And
yeah.
bringing things like Go Cardless and Stripe. But tell us how a little bit how that comes together and how it works behind the scenes.
Okay. So yeah, so the planning software we use is a product called Squeegee, ironically named, I think, and it is able to be everything. So it's your diary, it's your CRM, it's your marketing, it's your customer communication, it's your onboarding, it's self-serving. It's an incredible piece of software, and again, to be able to help kind of forge the way of that's been brilliant because it's able to script something that would have cost me thousands and thousands to do
Yeah,
myself. So it's quite simple. It's just is having the confidence and the belief that you can be better than what everyone assumes is industry standard, and that's quite
yeah,
common with us. I talk about this when I see you on Thursdays, but the customer experience in window cleaning in general is pretty poor. And from somebody who's worked customer services most of his life, I wanted it to be better. So the the lowest point of friction is the best way for new customers, and I think it's also what we all want. You've made your mind up. You want a service, you want a product. You want to go and get it or find it and deliver it. So we push everything where possible. Bespoke stuff is a bit different through the website. Um, the quote generator is built alongside um, the planning platform, so that will capture all of the customers' information at source and deliver it straight into the app. So we've got your information that we need. I've built a small algorithm within that, which will then generate a price on your screen. And then again, if it's more bespoke, they've got exterior annexes, they've got this, they've got that, and it requires a site visit, then we can capture that information to arrange an appointment for that. They're producing on-screen price in about 90 seconds, and then they'll get a follow-up email and text message to view that later if they need to leave their desk or go back to whatever they were doing, and they can
yeah,
accept that up to 14 days later. Once they've accepted the quote and the terms of service, they'll get a follow-up link, and this is where I do not budge. That you accepting a quote is not you coming on as a customer for us. That is you saying that you're happy with the price and you're accepting the terms of service. The only time that we will commit to an appointment is once we've captured that payment information, and that's been critical to my success and how
yeah,
I've got it this far. So you will then have to provide either direct debit mandate through GoCardless, which is becoming fairly common practice. There's a lot of smaller companies that are using this now as well, but we've been using it for about 7 years. And then a couple of years ago, I introduced Stripe. So Stripe captures card payments at source, so sort of Netflix subscriptions, those kind of things. So once we've got that, that's the only time I consider them a new customer, because
right,
up until that point, I've got no control over that process. So I'm not prepared to turn up to a job that I don't know if I'm getting paid for.
yeah,
Um, because I just don't want to be another business that's owed tens of thousands every month and has no
yeah,
control over getting it. So as soon as that link is completed, we'll schedule the first clean. So we try and do it roughly by postcode because I cover a massive area, about 40 square miles. So it's counterintuitive for me to say I'll be there tomorrow when I'm actually not in that area tomorrow. So
Yeah.
I'll build it into within the closest proximity of that space. They then get confirmation of that. Again, I do both because some people are great with email, some people are great with text, and not the other way
Yeah.
around. So there's maximum effect of them getting told what they need to know. That'll be scheduled. They get a welcome email. We talk them through the process. We talk them through what happens with the windows, why we leave them wet, which is because it's purified water. Once it evaporates, there's no minerals left to dry on the glass. Let them know how the payment works and everything else. So they should at that point really be quite settled and at ease about what's going to come. They'll get a follow-up reminder once the appointment's confirmed, which is the day before about 1 p.m. ish. They go out, and they're all automatic as well. So I don't do any of this at this point. None of this has been me doing anything. And they get a great clean, great experience. Follow-up email, just say if you've got any questions after they just let us know, again to encourage the feedback I want to make this better. And the other thing we do, which has been something that was actually customer feedback a couple of years ago, was that people loved getting told when their appointment was, but they kind of wanted to know when their next one was.
Yeah.
So again, working with Next Dynamic, it was like, is this possible? Can I build a default message for this to be a thing? So now what happens is you receive your invoice saying, great, your windows have been cleaned, your payment's been taken, here's your invoice, and we'll be with you on this next date. So now the customer has complete understanding of every part of what's going on, which minimizes anything coming back my way that's a question that takes time out of the day to answer or resolve, and so on. So yeah, it's quite seamless, if I'm honest. I'm not trying to blow my own trumpet, but everybody that comes on is quite blown away by how professional such a small business can be, and how good that experience is for that customer as well.
Okay, well that I just um so carrying on from that, you're able to educate sort of customers from day one of the benefits versus the industry standards. Talk to me about sort of future growth and things like that, because it looks to me as though you've got in place a system, and once any business is systemized very substantially like you are, then that should make, whether that's you employing more window cleaners or whether even you'll franchise it out. I'm not trying to get into a bit long-term business plan, but or even sell the product. It gives you quite a lot of options now, doesn't it? As you've got a proven system that works.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing is with this, it's now at a point where it's unknown again, and I think that's where I was at the start of this journey 6 years ago. Of actually, some of the tools I wanted weren't even a thing yet, and it was an idea of what I wanted it to become, and now it is. And now I'm sort of down this. The business that I was in before that I mentioned earlier was very old fashioned, but there was 5 of us, and it had employees and it had us running it, and it had all of its own problems, but it was quite a basic setup. Whereas now it's amplified the potential of what it can be. And I don't know what my next steps are yet. I kind of go through waves of what I think is best, but what the nice sort of thing about it is it's now become something that whatever that decision is and whenever it comes, the platform I've built has made that scalability almost limitless, because there's none of the usual problems of, okay, but if I take someone on, how do I pay them? Sometimes I don't get all my money in, my payroll is this, and so on. Everything, because I've stuck to my roots with this. Everything I choose to do, there should be money for, and that makes it a lot less stressful. So I want the idea of it being this way is to build myself out of it, but I don't know which approach next that's going to be, staffing it, franchising it, or selling this experience to other people to deploy to their own service industry or anything that they're doing for themselves.
I think for many small businesses or business owners, Chris, like yourself, it's getting to a place where you have those choices. Is a great place, but yes, clearly you've got to make. You don't have to, but at some point you're likely to make a choice. And you need to do that sort of with some careful thought as what's right for you. But to get to a situation where you have that choice is really testament to what you've done and achieved over the last 5 or 6 years. Because I think for any small business, not just in your industry, but any small business, to get to that level of automation, and one thing I would pick up as a coach, which is that firm belief. You clearly believe in your products and the way you've gone about it, and that is often we spend a lot of time working with people on their belief, but you clearly have a belief in your product and how it operates. So, congratulate on that.
Oh, thank you. Thanks.
So, look, that's been really insightful. I know I think people can contact you if they need to, if they have any specific questions, or even want to book you for a window clean or gutter clean.
Yeah, sure.
Just remind us what's the best way of getting hold of it. Obviously, you're on the No Limits network, so you can use that.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So the website is probably my base one thing to go to. Most queries, questions are answered in the FAQ there. Tell you a little bit more about it. That's also linked into our social media, so you can see jobs that we do and carry out. So yeah, best bets website. If not, drop me an email. LinkedIn, I'm quite active on. So if it's something you want to knock heads about, I've helped a few people that have been in similar sticky situations to most with this, and with a bit of perseverance, they've turned their lives around as well. So I'm always happy to give you a little bit of.
Okay, so the website is crose1word.cleaning. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, and the email is hello@crose.cleaning. So people can use that to get hold of you. Well, look, unless there's anything else you'd like to add, I just want to take the time to thank you very much for your time. I think that's been a really interesting case study, Chris. Wish you every bit of luck going forward, whatever decisions you make, how you expand it. I think you've got yourself in a position where you can do that, and a lot of businesses will work a lot longer than you have to get to that sort of situation. So congratulations on that. I know you deliver a great service, and thank you for your time. Karen, I just wanted to say that tomorrow we have the weekly Q&A live for the Bronze Coaching Programme, and thank people for taking the time to watch it.
No, thanks, Karen.
Thank you very much.
I appreciate
Thank you very much for listening. Thank you, Chris.
Thanks.
Cheers.